Hi, my name's Rob Ryder, speaking out of Cornwall. I'd just like to talk about, you could say, moral investments maybe. So there's still a lot of, I believe, illusionary ideas out there. So start with, well, I've got a few things to put this together. Start with gold and silver. So you got a lot of people saying invest in gold and silver. It's real money, intrinsic value, etc. For me, that's nonsense. The only real value is me, you, our imagination, and the resources we have and how we use them to make life better for us individually and collectively. That's what value is. But let's look at it very simply. Gold and silver. People say we should invest in that. Well, if you're going to invest in gold and silver, then there has to be gold and silver. So I'm going to give two examples. So we look at gold, for example, and there's the highest, probably a city now, it's that big, I think there's about 50,000 people, La Rinconada in Peru, where I've lived, where my wife's from. Now, I haven't been to this particular town, but it's the highest town in the world. It's over 5,000 meters. So why would people go to live over 5,000 meters? Gold. Somebody's found gold. So you would have had, until recently, a beautiful part of the Andes, unspoiled, because of the altitude as well. It's hard to live up there. Somebody's found gold, and what do you get? Absolute dump. Potentially 50,000 people, no sewage, no rubbish collection. You've got an area that would have been pristine beauty, an absolute dump. Total, utter dump. What does that bring? It brings prostitution, it brings drugs, alcohol, violence, abuse. Awful, awful town. Awful town that brings about the worst in people and brings about horrific living conditions. What for? A bit of illusionary wealth called gold. As long as people keep putting a value on gold, then, I'm going to swear now, them shitholes will continue to exist. Yeah, as long as people, oh, I'm investing in gold. Yeah, well, you're responsible for that. Yeah, because to invest in gold, you need gold. And that's the consequence. And that's always been the consequences of mining. Yeah, that has always been. A few people get rich, most people are poor, and it brings prostitution, drugs, gambling, and all the worst of humanity. So I'll try and find the link to the video of La Rinconada. Watch it. See what gold investment is really all about. Another one is silver. Now, this is a town I visited in Bolivia called Potosi. It used to be called the richest mountain in the world. I think it was the richest town in the world at the time of the silver boom, a couple of centuries ago. Again, it would have been high up in the Andes. It would have been a pristine place. They found silver. You've got all the rich people from Europe went over there basically and run the show. Over the period of time that it was running, 8 million, yes, 8 million indigenous people were worked to death so people can get this illusionary wealth called silver. Yeah, your investment as a consequence, people have to get that out of the ground. Now, they're just two examples. I'm sure you could look at the history of gold and silver and the environmental and human destruction it's caused for some illusionary wealth. I mean, at least with copper, you could say it has a use, a big scientific use in technologies. What is the use of gold and silver? There may be a small use, but what? Let's be clear. What do people do with gold? Put the jewelry aside. When you invested in gold, you've got your gold coin or your gold bullion. It sits in a safe doing nothing. Why? Because it has no value outside of your mind. It's totally illusionary. And millions of people over the centuries have died for that illusion and will continue, because people on our channels, the freedom movement, oh, invest in gold. Yeah, it's your way out of inflation, etc. That's the consequences. Them shithole of towns where people are dying. That isn't a moral investment, if you ask me. I thought, this so-called freedom movement, truth movement, whatever, was about taking the moral stance. At least, when Bitcoin come out, I turned my nose up it simply because I wasn't interested in finding a way out of the system. I've always been interested in confronting the system and getting rid of the system. I never even got involved in Bitcoin, not interested in it, because it wasn't a solution for me, and it still isn't a solution. It's a way of trying to avoid the unavoidable. I want to face it head on. If I could rewind the time, I would have probably bought a few $100 worth of Bitcoin. Why? Because the mining that goes on in Bitcoin isn't causing environmental damage. Not that I even know what the mining in Bitcoin is. That's another reason I've never got into it, because I don't understand it. But I'm pretty sure whatever mining is going on isn't causing environmental damage, prostitution, wars, violence, poverty. I'm sure it's not causing that. So that's at least an illusion that on the surface. I don't know much about Bitcoin, but it's an illusion that doesn't seem to cause much damage. The illusion of gold and silver, 8 million people, nobody seems to know about this or talks about this, died over the time when they were taking that silver out of Potosi. I was in there, and they're still mining it today as they did centuries ago. The only difference is they got air pumped in. Being mined the same. I see it. I was in there with the dynamite, with the picks, but there's only 10 left, so it's even worse now. Horrific. These are the consequences for people who say you should invest in gold and silver. Now, this brings me on to what's been happening in the last few years. This word entrepreneur, it's coming up everywhere. I'm an entrepreneur. You get people like Andrew Tate, Patrick Bet-David. They're big names as entrepreneurs. You've got people who do podcasts. There's a girl called Layla Helipern, I think her name is. And there's another few. Quite a lot of them seem to want to interview David Icke. Interesting. Whereas David Icke has no interest in the digital revolution, but they always want to interview him, and then they ignore him. They interview him, in my opinion, to give themselves a platform, like Russell Brand did years ago, of being connected to the freedom movement. Yeah, this is what they do. The scammers, a lot of them are scammers. They're not interested. They'll get somebody like David that talk about freedom. What are they really after? Their own selfish needs. The entrepreneurs, yeah? Entrepreneurs, where's your product? They haven't got one. Oh, I work in investments. What does that mean? That is exactly the same system the satanic evil bankers have been using for well over a century to strip all the wealth off the people of the world. The mentality of these people is no different. Brian Rose, another one of London Real, entrepreneur. Where's your product? You haven't got one. It's investments in this digital casino world, illusionary world, where the reality of them investments is poverty for some, and they so-called the wealth out. That's how it works. They're putting themselves forward as freedom fighters, and they're interviewing David Icke, a lot of them, because I like David Icke. I haven't got anything against him, but they use him to give themselves a platform. Where's the product? If you can invent a product and you make £1 on that product, and it's a product that will benefit mankind, be useful, a tool that, say, for builders will be really useful. You can make a product and sell 100 million and you make £100 million, good luck, well done. That's an entrepreneur. You've made a product that is useful and you've sold it to people who need it at a fair price. These people are parasites. They have no product, nothing to offer mankind, and yet they like to nudge themselves with the freedom. They might even be a religious person, a Christian, whatever. They're totally full of it because their wealth, a lot of them get into buying homes. Samuel Leeds, and there's another one called Rob, somebody who has a podcast, multi-millionaires. They openly state their ambitions are to be billionaires. How can you, where's the Christian message in that? I want to be a billionaire. Can people not see through this? Samuel Leeds was interviewed on TV the other day saying he would be embarrassed to be a millionaire. And then he'll quote the Bible. What kind of morons are these people? Or how moronically stupid do they think we are? This is all planned. Entrepreneurs are selfish, parasitic people who want to get wealthy. Now, I used to like Patrick Bet-David. He interviewed Dr. Tom Cowan. He interviewed David Icke. He interviewed Richard Werner, the economist. But what does it all come down to? What can he get out of the system? He admitted, he had a 20-year plan to get rich. He made 400 million. Now he's got another 20-year plan. What? To make $1 billion. What's that? It's nothing. That's nothing to do with the freedom movement, the truth movement, whatever this is. It's nonsense. And these people are getting millions of followers. Andrew Tate, the same. All their wealth depends on poverty. And people can't see through this bullshit. It's mind-boggling. Why? Because they're trying to feed in that satanic, parasitic mentality into the population through entrepreneurs like Andrew Tate and Patrick Bet-David and all these people. A selfish mindset that I will get rich at all costs. They don't care about the consequences of how they get rich. They just want to get rich. Yeah? They may sell it as though they are. They don't care about you. It's nonsense. So many people are falling for it. It's unbelievable how many people are falling for this. It's just nonsense. If you're going to get rich off a product and you've worked hard and you've created something, fair, well done. But these people are getting rich off nothing. They're no better than the satanic bankers at all. The satanic bankers do not have a product. Their product is debt. Yeah, and then they suck the wealth out of everybody else through slavery. Dubai is built on slavery and death, and these people are flocking over there, going there, and people are falling for this. I'm surprised they haven't sworn a lot more in this video, because this is mind-boggling, and it's creeping into this so-called whatever movement we're involved in, truth, freedom movement, whatever. That we need to make sound investments, beat inflation, that the system's crumbling. If we put that energy into bringing all the politicians under arrest lawfully, we wouldn't have to worry about that, because in a proper system, we wouldn't need to worry about investments, because it's all nonsense. I'm just mind-boggled at how many people are falling for this. It's incredible. They're completely worthless human beings, these people. They're not putting any value into humanity, even though they might claim I'm a religious person, I'm a this or that. Tate's converted to Islam. Samuel Leeds goes on, he's a Christian. Patrick Bet-David, I don't know what it is, but what are these people? Yeah, the scammers. It's all they are, self-interested scammers. People are falling for it because there's that little bit of selfishness within everybody. Now, I understand you don't go down with a sinking ship. Yeah, you don't go down with a sinking ship. But this is kind of, if you can't beat him, join him. Well, I ain't joining them. I'd rather go down on my own little lifeboat. I'll dive into my lifeboat. I'm not going down with humanity, but I certainly ain't going to join them. But this mentality they're putting through isn't even that. It's not even, if you can't beat him, join him. It's just join them. That's all it is. Yeah, it's not, I don't want to go down with a sinking ship, therefore I can't save them. I may as well look after myself. Yeah, you need to look after yourself. This is more than that. This is just join them. Yeah, take on that parasitic mentality and do not care, lose your humanity and become rich. Well, not for me, mate. I tell you, not for me. I'd rather struggle. But they're full of it and people are getting on board with it. The investments people need to make are moral investments, investments in truth and justice. This is what this alleged movement is supposed to be about. But it's being, this entrepreneurial movement is coming in it and trying to push its way in. That's why they get David Icke on board. So far, well done, David Icke. He's having none of it. Yeah, he'll go on the shows, he'll do his interview, and when they try to drag him in to these digital revolutions and nonsense, he's not even in any of it. So, well, I have to say, well done to him there. You've got to be really careful. At the end of the day, it's freedom of choice. People do what they want? If you want to take part in that, take part in it. I ain't taking part in it because no matter what choice you make, you're going to die at the end of the day. You want 10, 15, whatever years rich, living it up in Dubai, fair enough, go for it. But on your deathbed, you're nothing. Yeah, I'd rather plod on as I am, and on my deathbed, at least my conscience is clear. It's just these people know how to manipulate mankind, and this entrepreneurial nonsense is getting right in there. And these are the people that are in the podcasts and getting the people on, pushing themselves as speakers of truth and challenging the system. Utter nonsense, total utter. Takes on about the Matrix attack. Is part of the Matrix. And people cannot see through this clown. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Religion is part of the Matrix. Dubai is part of the Matrix. He goes about him being the only man in the world. Well, I'm pretty sure I saw a picture of him wearing a mask. Yeah, he's about twice the size of me. I've never worn a mask for no one. For no one. Yeah, I've seen him, I'm pretty sure, wearing a mask. They're all full of it. All full of it. And people have got to stop following these clowns and start looking after themselves and taking moral investments. Invest in morality, invest in truth, invest in justice. Stop following these clowns. And it's becoming a bit of a circus now, the truth movement. Yeah, how many subscribers you can get, how many views you can get, how much money you can make out of it. It's a cesspit. It's becoming a cesspit. But you've got to stay true to yourself, and people have got to be aware of what they're getting sucked into. Yeah, that's all I've got to say on this.